I want to introduce you to the next speaker. As I mentioned previously, we started from like discussion to make it more fluent, more interactive. But right now we have presentations, and we have a lot of great presentations. I can count them. It's 6 great presentation, and the first speaker who will share with us the best practices how AI is transforming storytelling and brand communication. It will be Imogen Mulliner, the growth team of ElevenLabs. Definitely, ElevenLabs. I don't think that ElevenLabs needs to be presented. When I've got access to this tool first time, I've told this is magic. This is magic how you can play with your voice, and all opportunities that you got when you start using ElevenLabs for video creation, for voice cloning, for basic voice AI agents. So I'm really happy to present you to Imogen. Hi, Imogen. How are you?
Hey, great to be here today. Thanks for having me.
I'm really happy to have you on our conference. I'm happy to give you the screen and the presentation share. Let's jump in the deck.
Okay, great. Let me just share my screen. Can you guys all see that slide? Great.
Yeah, we have it. I will turn off my camera, but I will come back to you on questions.
Brilliant. Well, thanks everyone for bearing with me. I'm really excited to talk to you today about how AI is transforming storytelling and brand communication. I think high level, AI really enables us to create personalized content at an unprecedented scale. And for me, that's super exciting. And I hope it's equally exciting for you. So maybe before we jump in there, let's first talk a bit about today's landscape. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this already, but just to go through sort of the key points here. It's no news to anyone that AI adoption in marketing is accelerating incredibly fast. It's no longer just experimental tech limited to a few teams. It's becoming standard. And as an example, a firm like Gartner predict that by the end of 2025, 60% of marketing departments globally will be using AI technology in some form or another, which is a massive shift. So why the rapid uptake? Well, I think we can all see that brands are recognizing like AI's strategic value in storytelling and brand communication. In other words, if you're not leveraging AI today, you risk falling behind your competitors who are. And so most notably in brand storytelling, where I think we see AI most predominantly and the impact having been most significant is how it's changing and how we produce content. At ElevenLabs, a significant proportion of our marketing content is AI supported. I'm purposely avoiding using the word AI generated here, as well. AI definitely supports in like the copy, image, and video writing process. It's definitely used as more of a prompt or aid rather than solely dictating the end results. But it's fundamental in supercharging how much and how personalized the content is that we can produce. For example, tweaking outreach emails to personalize to the recipient using ChatGPT, or to write blog posts and tweet thread copy. I'm actually hard pressed to think of a single hour in the day when I'm not interacting with some element of AI. Not the misleading given I do work at ElevenLabs. But overall, the landscape tells us that AI is here, it's growing, and it's becoming integral to marketing success. So what are the benefits and why is it so crucial that we adopt AI rapidly within our daily workflows? Well, first and foremost, it makes us more efficient. It takes over the grunt work, things like generating reports or optimizing send times or even drafting initial copy, tasks that for me definitely used to eat up many hours. By automating these repetitive processes, it frees up my time to focus more on that strategic creative thinking and bigger picture thinking. Secondly, it offers deeper insights. It allows us to analyze mountains of consumer data, such as social media activity or a customer's entire work history, to enable us to find patterns and ensure we can better personalize the emails or copy that we message people. Often things that a human eye might overlook. It means we can understand our audiences on an even more granular level and tailor our brand and storytelling to them on a personal level rather than on a more sort of worldwide level. Thirdly, AI-driven analytics and predictive models will help us answer questions like who's most likely to respond to this campaign or this copy or this imagery, and which content or image will resonate much better with like segment A versus segment B, and enable us to do that split marketing approach much more easily and scalably than we previously could. And it does it in seconds. So we can do smarter targeting, a higher level of personalization to our storytelling that would have been impractical to have done manually before. To take some examples from ElevenLabs, when positioning our recent music model that we launched, we were able to analyze sort of usage patterns among our users and complement this with user persona. So we can draft better email drip campaigns and hit our users at a point of need, to highlight like the key features and benefits inspired by their own usage that are most relevant to them, rather than just sort of broad observations we're seeing from the platform. And the final benefit I wanted to talk about today is how it highlights and leads to better performance. So not only can AI lead to much better personalization, but by optimizing this, we can ensure, as mentioned, to send the right message to the right person at the right time when it's most relevant to them, boosting engagement and conversion. So how we're seeing it is it leads to higher click-through rates with personalized emails tailored by AI, leading to improved conversion from MQL to SQL, or even using AI-powered SDRs to pre-qualify ahead of time before our human SDRs need to take that time. So ultimately, the benefits here is AI helps us work faster, smarter, and it's a massively powerful combination when we want to communicate key messages about our brand. So just want to go over a few key innovations, and then we'll dive into much deeper detail here. So first, looking at how AI is transforming storytelling and communication, the first way is through generative content creation. I think this is probably the most buzzed up area that people talk about. And here I talk about AI that can communicate both through writing and design. So think of ChatGPT for text, or tools like FreePic for image and video generation across multiple different models from the providers like Google, OpenAI, ByteDance, etc. These all allow us to generate content creatively and quickly, iteratively, and in styles that maybe we wouldn't have thought of if we were just doing pen to paper in a more traditional manual sense. And so it's revolutionizing and democratizing our creative workflows, not only allowing for increased speed, but also increased scale and breadth of the content production that we can produce. The second key point that I want to dive into in this presentation will be around hyperpersonalization. I've already alluded to it a lot, but AI enables us to customize marketing like never before and really personalize that story to the individual that we're wishing to talk to on a one-to-one level. The ability to deliver that unique content based on the individual's preferences and behavior is just transformational in terms of how we can unlock that user and get them to, one, start using our product, or two, get them to engage with our product even more on a deeper level. Also, what I think is super exciting is we see further advances in AI is how we can get that brand story not only to adapt and personalize to the user, but also dynamically adapt as time goes on, as we analyze their different behavior, or in real time as we're an AI agent chatting to that user one-to-one and trying to understand sort of their needs and wishes. We can hyper-personalize how we convey our brand message based on their responses in live interactions. And then I suppose it's making ultimately sort of that market of one, targeting possible at scale, which ultimately boosts engagement, which is what we all care about. And then finally, the last topic I want to talk about is conversational and voice AI. This is an area, obviously, at ElevenLabs we spend a lot of time in, or have a lot of core products focused around. And I think it's incredibly important when it comes to brand storytelling, as using conversational AI is about making brand communication more interactive, more human feeling. Historically, we think about like chatbots and them being super clunky and not very helpful, and always being like, take me to a human for that support element. But now with AI, actually these chatbots are incredibly reactive, incredibly sensitive to the human needs. And I think actually are now a transformational way of communicating with your end customer. Then we've also got AI voice synthesis, which can produce voices that not only sound incredibly real, but also sound exactly like you. So you can speak in your voice to your customers in any language. And it means that any brand can have an AI spokesperson that's uniform across all languages, all communication channels, and talks to your customers naturally in a human-like way without needing to go to a recording studio to record whenever you wish to create that content. And these voice and chat innovations bring two-way dialogue elements to storytelling, as opposed to the traditional one-way broadcast or traditional ads. So maybe Diving deeper, let's start with Gen AI for content creation. This is obviously a huge development. I think here the idea is that AI can actually create original content, words, images, even video, dramatically speeds up our content workflows. Tasks that have traditionally taken us hours or weeks or days can now be done in minutes or seconds with AI Assistant. I think for me, the most relevant use case here is around personalized email variations, as well as generating like sets of banner images in different styles. AI enables me to handle the heavy lifting and also ideate at a much greater scale to come up with the perfect copy or the perfect image for the original intention that I had set out to achieve. And it's not only about that efficiency piece, it allows me to expand my creative possibilities and come up with variations that I haven't thought of before. For example, in my typical workflow, if I'm brainstorming a new ad copy or social media post, I typically often ideate with ChatGPT or Google Gemini to propose me sort of 10 ideas out of the box, and then take the best ones, iterate further, ensure they underline the core message of the product or the feature that I'm launching to talk about. And then even if I don't use some of them, they often help spark the way that I delve into next to further iterate further and hit on that perfect copy that speaks to exact core messaging that I wish to achieve and translate to the end customer. So in a way, you can think of AI as more of a creative partner that never runs out of suggestions. And while the result isn't, I immediately have the perfect copy that I want to produce, it speeds it up a lot and enables me to think much more broadly than maybe I have traditionally done, and in quite a cheap way, given the cost of these subscriptions. So taking some examples of like how we work at ElevenLabs to demonstrate how this can be enacted in practice. At ElevenLabs, as mentioned, we typically start brainstorming social copy with ChatGPT or Google Gemini to craft that perfect core message. And then as a value prop explanation for the new product, model, or feature launches. And then we've built a custom GPT that reflects the ElevenLabs tone and brand, so that prior to sharing any copy externally, we run our copy through that to ensure that we contain a consistent brand voice. The next topic I wanted to talk about is conversational AI for storytelling. This is basically where I'm talking about sort of chatbots, interactive agents, etc. As mentioned before, if you've ever used like a live chat on a website, pre-AI, this was clunky, annoying, often very frustrating. But today it's becoming more and more helpful in the responses that they generate and a lot more personalized to your exact needs, often more helpful than a human rep themselves, given the amount of knowledge that you can train these bots on. For me, this is perfect for storytelling because not only can you ensure that the brand message and voice align, but you can perfectly tailor it to each individual need rather than just relying on sort of standard copy that appeals to everyone on your website. You can really tailor that one-to-one message, be it through a conversational AI voice agent or through a chat and text-based system. So at ElevenLabs, I personally rely on our website agent almost daily to answer questions I have about our own product, because I know it's up to date with the latest innovations that often I've missed in various different Slack channels as product iterates so fast. So now I see so many opportunities to use voice agents on greeting users on websites or social media, answering FAQs, assisting with shopping, or even delivering interactive storytelling as I think about sort of enhancing my brand and brand communication at every touch point that my users interact with my products. And the great thing is just how natural these have become. It's no longer just spitting out canned lines. It's all about tailoring to that customer and what they need to keep that conversation going, but also making it most valuable and efficient. To give you a few more examples of how we use agents at ElevenLabs, it's not just our support agent that you see on our website, and you can even go into ElevenLabs today and play around with it now, or you can go through to our documentation and play around with our documentation agent. But we actually use it to convey the brand voice and message at every touch point we have with potential users, but also potential hires. So we've built an AI agent that answers any questions that potential hires have about the hiring process. Often questions you're often too scared to ask the recruiter or the individual around, I don't know, like company culture or what the typical next steps are. This saves our recruiters a lot of time, but also enables like key messages about our organization and our brand to be conveyed to those potential new hires, without taking up valuable time in an interview where you want to be evaluating the skills. Another AI agent we've built, which I alluded to earlier, is our AI SDR agent that helps qualify MQLs so that we can make sure they're relevant for the sales team ahead of time in a two-way conversational manner. Everything we do is conversational, so it enables us to really dig deeper into that sales lead and understand them and to convey the key product features, but also sort of tell our story as a brand ahead of them speaking to a human rep. And then the last element that I wanted to talk about in terms of AI transforming storytelling is around voice and audio. We've touched on elements with this with conversational AI, but really pulling out voice and audio as sort of the new way of demonstrating your brand voice. With talking about how you can change how AI brands sound with AI. This is particularly exciting for storytelling. So we now have AI that can generate speech, which is nearly indistinguishable from a human voice. For example, at ElevenLabs, our AI platform can read any script you give it and produce audio that has realistic inflection, tone, emotion. It's not so much about the monotone robo voices that we experienced of the past, but it's like a real person speaking naturally. And you can do this within seconds without hiring a voice actor or booking a recording studio. You can also use ElevenLabs to generate your own voice clones that allows you to produce content and complement with your own voiceover, having never opened your map. So that means that brands can create consistent voices across all of their content. So imagine like an AI voice that becomes as recognizable as your logo, narrating your videos, your ads, your interactive experiences, all without the logistical complexity of traditional recording. So a massive advantage here is the scale and personalization that this can bring. With AI voice, you can personalize that audio content for different audiences, just as you can do that with text or email. For example, you might have an AI generated voice ad that inserts the listener's name or references their local city. Or you can think of like a global brand using AI voice to produce one video and then using AI to translate that into 92 different languages, all with the same voice style, no need to separately record. And you can all do that with tools such as ElevenLabs, which means you can make customized and localized audio much more feasible. A good example of a fun use of AI audio is the Spotify AI DJ that they use to drive better consumer engagement. So for those that don't know, Spotify created an AI DJ feature, which is basically an AI voice that talks to you like a radio DJ between songs. It references your own music history and it does it in a super realistic, friendly voice. It's actually modeled on a real Spotify host voice and it's used AI to generate the speech. And so it's super cool to interact with. I definitely recommend everyone check it out. But it just shows you the power of AI voices in storytelling, both in product experiences, but also in communicating and demonstrating how you want your brand to come across. And so for marketers and storytellers, AI voice opens up new creative channels from narrated product demos to interactive voice assistants to help convey that brand personality, keep consistency, to also doing personalized audio ads. It's about adding that sort of voice-driven human touch to our automated communications that really resonates with consumers. Obviously, there's a lot of challenges and considerations we need to take into account when we're talking about using AI within storytelling and brand communication. First is around data privacy and ethics. It goes without saying that AI systems thrive on data and often personal data. So as storytellers, we have to be extremely careful about how we collect and use that data. And the last thing that we want to do is cross a line and make customers feel uncomfortable or violated. So we need to be transparent where we do use AI, that this isn't a human running the experience, but it is AI generated. So at ElevenLabs, we're very clear where we're doing AI generated responses that we disclose that those are AI generated. The next point is we want to make sure we maintain authenticity. The one risk with automated content is that it could become generic. Yes, it can be super personalized, but it could also become generic or off tone if it's not managed well. AI doesn't inherently understand nuance or cultural context. So we need to make sure that to be successful, we use AI to enhance, not replace a brand's voice. And so we should always be in the loop with editing, finessing what AI produces. And then there's like the human factor. I mentioned at the start how I like to say AI collaborates with us to produce our marketing content at ElevenLabs. It doesn't replace, or it's not AI generated, because it's not what we rely solely on. So it's important that there is human in the loop within these workflows to make sure that we're not over reliant, because AI can be wrong, it can produce false information, etc., etc. So what's next? So looking ahead, I wanted to just think about what the future with AI and the possibilities that it brings within storytelling and the brand experience. One major trajectory is towards experiences that are hyperpersonal and immersive. Today, we can definitely personalize to a certain extent, but in the future, this could go into overdrive. Imagine combining AI with AR or VR, and personalization can become even more granular, maybe down to emotional personalization. For example, the AI can sense the user's mood and therefore tailor the story accordingly, and adjust the content to make sure it responds correctly with our intended purpose, regardless of whether they're in a grump or if they're like super happy and therefore receptive to being sold content. Another aspect is advancements in AI creativity. The Gen AI we see now is very impressive, but future models will be even more powerful and coherent. We might see AI generating full video stories or managing multi-channel narratives in ways that are seamless. And for example, a brand could potentially input a theme, some guidelines, and AI could spin up a whole integrated campaign, from writing copy to generating a video campaign release to generating background music, all within one creative studio and direction. While that might sound like replacing creatives, I prefer to think about it as giving creative superpowers. It handles the execution and lets you think about the strategy, the creative focus, how to fine tune, and how to be most impactful with that creative content that you're producing. That being said, as AI becomes a lot more embedded, the importance of doing it responsibly becomes even more paramount. Consumers are savvy, they are us, and so they'll expect authenticity and fairness. And so we need to make sure that AI is used transparently, fairly, and with the appropriate guardrails in place. But crucially, there's a competitive aspect. If you aren't embracing AI already and in a thoughtfully generated way, other brands are going to outpace you. So it's now or never to start getting familiar with AI tools and integrating it within your workflows to better enhance your brand storytelling. And that's everything I wanted to cover today. So thank you so much for spending the time with me. Happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, Imogen, thanks for the great presentation. We have a few questions. As a moderator, I will start from my one. I've already asked it to Steph. We were the first one who brought ElevenLabs to Udemy. We've created the first course on ElevenLabs half a year ago on Udemy. Right now, we are creating it on Coursera. We will be also the first. But even for a half year, there are a lot of updates, a lot of new features, a lot of new possibilities that your tool gives. And you are the one. You are the one. Yes, you are leading in AI voice creation. How you keep in all these updates? What is the best advice for our audience? How to learn AI but still be in actual understanding what is possible? What is your secret?
It's a very good question. I'd say in order to stay ahead of the game, but also at the front of the curve, how we think about this is all through experimentation and playing around with our own tools, but also figuring out, whenever anyone joins ElevenLabs, the first focus is automation. How can we make ourselves 10 times more effective for one single human? And so whether it is utilizing AI tools, as it often is, through to just thinking through your day-to-day step-by-step workflow and writing out what we call an SOP, but essentially like a breakdown of that workflow, and then figuring out which bits can be automated with AI today, which bits maybe can be automated in the future. For us, that's crucial to make sure we stay ahead of the game. And then in terms of figuring out the best AI tools, obviously our research team are excellent, so we rely a lot from them in terms of producing our own and pushing our own products forward. But also it's just playing around with all the startups out there building at the forefront, whether it be with ElevenLabs or other major large language models, to adopt that technology quickly and iteratively so that we can really push the boundaries of what we produce and how we work.
We have one more question from the chat. As growth, you definitely understand what are the most popular use cases. Can you summarize top 3 use cases of using ElevenLabs for marketers?
Yeah, top 3 for using ElevenLabs specifically. I'd say one is voiceovers and using our voice cloning software and also our voices to provide audio to videos, be it podcasts, be it audiobooks, be it bringing to life imagery and content.
Translation. You have a great translation, a lot of languages.
Exactly. The second point I was going to say was translation. We have content available across, we have languages, north of 70 different languages you can use ElevenLabs to translate content in. So you can use the same voice, but across those different languages to bring your content to life across those languages. And then the third use case I'd say we're seeing increasing more of is our music product. People using ElevenLabs music to generate background music for, be it again, videos or presentations, etc. But also special effects and really to bring to life that content that they're trying to produce and tell a story.
Can you share what are the main risks of AI voices? Definitely, we are talking about deepfakes. The topic is popular for every journalist. How do you see it can be solved this issue?
Yeah, the biggest risks, deepfakes being the risk or just generally the biggest risks?
Yeah, it's one of the risks. Yeah, let's talk about the risk of AI voices.
Yeah, I'd say the risk of AI voices ultimately comes down to potential risk for people taking others' voices and using them to impersonate them. We're very conscious of this risk and careful, and so anyone who records a voice clone has to go through a voice capture, similar to like an image capture, but to verify that the voice is your own and that you own rights to that voice. So you can't simply go onto ElevenLabs and use a famous celebrity's voice who hasn't already given their approval to the platform. And you can't just upload. I couldn't take, Anton, your voice and create a voice clone. I would need to prove my ownership of that voice to create that voice clone. So I think that's a big risk when we think about fraud and cold calling, but one that we are very conscious of and active to prevent. But definitely with more open source software, there's definitely a big risk.
Yeah, we have one more question in chat. You've already talked about it. The question from Emmy, won't it make the interaction between brands and customer less human? So you have my voice, you try to implement it. How, even if we try to implement human in the loop everywhere where we can, how still make it human?
Yeah, I think it depends on the way you are using AI, but actually it's arguably more human if you're able to personalize that content to a greater level. Take the marketing content 10 years ago. It was one size fits all, everything is super standard, and therefore I'd arguably say that's less human and less dedicated to me and suitable for my exact needs than today, where I can make it super tailored, super perfect to my exact needs. I mean, you see it today when you're like scrolling Instagram, right? The ads that you're surfaced relate to things that you've interacted with or talked to previously. So if I can use conversational AI or just AI more broadly, be it text, copy, image, video, or voice, and make it super targeted to what I need, and also able to answer the questions that I have front of mind about that brand, about that product, for me, that's a lot more human and helpful than if it was just a one size fits all piece of copy or content itself. So yeah, while it may be AI generated, depends how we, I suppose the definition of human there in itself is evolving.
Imogen, it was a great pleasure to have you on our conference. Thank you for this great presentation. Thank you for answering questions. And definitely thank you for this great tool that you are building.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.